In November 1998, Nigeria's military head of state, General Abdulsalami Abubakar, set up a constitution debate coordinating committee to pilot the debate on the drafting of a constitution for the country before the 1999 general election that ushered in the return to democratic governance. In the course of the debate, some individuals had canvassed for the insertion of provisions for the zoning of the Nigerian presidency between the North and the South in the Constitution. But this was rejected by others and was never included in what became the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Nonetheless, the fledgling People's Democratic Party at the time adopted the zoning arrangement and mostly adhered to it until it lost power to the All Progressives Congress with the emergence of President Muhammadu Buhari in 2015. Unexpectedly, with less than 2 years left to the end of the Buhari tenure, the issue of zoning or power shift has again reared its head with a demand by the Southern Governors Forum that the next president must come from the South. This, however, has elicited mixed reactions from socio-political and cultural groups on both sides of the divide. Now, to discuss the case for and against zoning ahead of the next elections, we have with us the Director, Publicity and Advocacy, Northern Elders Forum, Hakeem Ahmed, and the Chairman of the Middle Belt Forum, Abuja Chapter, Yakubu Pam Gam. Good morning, gentlemen, and welcome to the show. Good morning.
Morning.
Well, very quickly, I mean, you must have heard me when I was introducing the subject, the zoning of the presidency in 2023. Governors of the southern states meeting the other day issued a communique in which they said in 2023, the presidency must return to the South in the spirit of equity, fairness, and justice. Now, Dr. Ahmed, you speak for the Northern Elders Forum. Mr. Yakubu Pam Gam, you speak for you are chairman of the Middle Belt Forum in Abuja chapter. Your comments, one after the other, on this idea of a presidential zoning or rotation of power. Let me start with you, Dr. Ahmed.
Thank you once again for inviting me to the program. When you quote the 17 Southern governors and they premise their position on fairness, equity, and justice, that's the correct thing. Fairness, equity, and justice must apply to whatever the democratic basis is. They are the pillars of a democratic system. In the interest of equity, justice, and fairness, Nigerian citizens must be allowed the freedom to choose who should lead them. That's the starting point. When governors, 17 governors elected, processed through the electoral process, then elected, they know the values of allowing the democratic process to work. There are ways in which candidates emerge. There are platforms, party platforms. There are rules within the party platform. Parties decide who to fill for a particular office. And then Nigerian citizens choose who to vote. So words like "we must," words like giving ultimatums and threat, completely negate the fundamentals of the democratic process. Now, just to correct your introduction, the Northern Elders Forum never said it is against rotation or power shift. What we've always insisted on is respect for the fact that we are operating a constitutional system. That constitutional system says, irrespective of what the party decides, the Nigerian citizen eventually has to go, line up, and cast a vote and choose who his leader is. And it is wrong and counterproductive for Southern governors to take this position that suggests that the presidency must move to the South, or they haven't said what the consequences of those are. This is dangerous, it's lazy politics, and it's not going to persuade Northern governors and Northern voters to vote for a Southern candidate simply because somebody sits in Lagos and says, bring the presidency here. Politicians have to do the responsible thing that politicians should do. Canvass, negotiate, work hard to convince every Nigerian, not just the Northern voter, every Nigerian, to vote for a Southern candidate. Northerners are not opposed to voting for Southern candidates. What we're opposed to is being compelled or threatened to vote for a Southern candidate simply because a few politicians are too lazy to do the hard work, the lifting job. which is to work with other politicians within their parties and on the basis of equity, justice, and fairness to allow citizens to vote. That's the position of the Northern Elders Forum.
Mr. Pam, your turn. We are aware that the Middle Belt leaders have also endorsed the idea of rotational presidency. But let's also note that in 2015, it will appear that even the All Progressives Congress, the ruling party, decided to zone the presidency to the north out of this commitment to rotational presidency. But what are your thoughts with regard to 2023?
Are you asking me or are you asking Mr. Pam?
Mr. Yakubu Pam Gam.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to state the position of the Middle Belt Forum as regards 2023. You will recall that in the history of this country, Nigeria, the Middle Belt has been a region that has kept Nigeria together over time. Various examples abound, both during the military and in the democratic setting. Now, the Middle Belt people believe in anything equity, fairness, and justice. And that is why, because of the Nigerian setting, where there are two major divides in the structure, the North and the South, the Middle Belt is in the center, trying to balance the two sides. And the issue of the 2023, the Middle Belt, in all honesty, is in tandem with the position of the Southern governors that this presidency should go to the South, largely because there is an informal understanding. Power should rotate between the two major planks in this country. And based on that, the North has it is going to be for 8 years. Now, the South naturally should have it in 2023. Now, looking at the way the the Southern governors presented, that could be another thing. But the true position of the Middle Belt is that power should rotate, should shift to the South. And after 8 years, it will also come to the North. And the Middle Belt believe that this country should have, every segment of this country should test this power so that everybody will feel belonged, so that everybody will now be rest assured that he is part and parcel of the system. That is the position of the Middle Belt.
Ahmed, I have to repeat, like what I said yesterday, nowhere in the communique by the Southern governors is the word must used with regards to a Southern president. The word was should, and the reasons cited were equity and fairness. There was no ultimatum, and there was no threat. Now, on January 8th, 2015 here, there's a newspaper headline, Northern Elders Forum, the North must produce next president. And in the article, Ango Abdullahi was quoted as saying that the Northern Elders Forum will throw their support behind APC because APC is the party that is fielding a Northern candidate. PDP's candidate was Southern. So I want you to explain that in view of the fact that you have said Southern governors have no right to demand a Southern president, that they must convince the North. Of course they must convince the North. It is a given. The last elections that we had, there were two Northern candidates who campaigned vigorously across the country. Every election we've ever had before that, there have been vigorous campaigns. Nobody expects the presidency of Nigeria to be handed to them on a silver platter. So why you feel the need to have these caveats, it does tend to imply that the North expects the South to come cap in hand, to come and jump through hoops. That is the perception that your statement is giving. But now we have to go on a break. I hope you process my question and are ready to answer it when we return. We'll take a short break. Please stay with us. Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. We're still with Hakeem Ahmed from the Northern Elders Forum and the chairman of the Middle Belt Forum, Abuja chapter, Yakubu Pam Gam. Thank you for staying with us during the break. So my question was for you, Mr. Baba Ahmed.
First of all, I was quoting Dr. Abati's intro where he used the word must. Governors, northern governors, southern governors are elected politicians. They know a lot better and they should operate at a higher level. You quoted Professor Ango Abdullahi's comment in 1998. Professor Ango Abdullahi leads a socio-cultural group which can offer an opinion that differs substantially from the position of governors. Governors cannot afford the luxury of making statements that are quite honestly dangerous for the democracy of the country. If he says Northern Elders Forum supports a Northern presidency, compare that with 17 governors, members of APC and PDP, who know that they have to work this process through their parties, and they know how they were elected. They know the values and the sanctity of the democratic process. They know what these values of equity, peace, and justice mean. It's a completely different setting. So I would advise you not to go there. People have used this argument that Professor Ango Abdullahi said in 1998, and they're now comparing it to the governors. No one is asking southern governors to go cup in hand to beg the northern voter. That nobody is saying that, and we're not opposed to a southern candidate. Now, there are two zones that have not produced a democratically elected president. Two zones out of the 6 zones, and one of them, incidentally, is the North Central Zone. They have as much right as anybody else to demand that, or to make the case for a president to come from the North Central Zone. Why don't you hear that? Now, when the 17 governors got together and said, bring it to the south, they forgot the Middle Belt. You never saw Governor Orton, for instance, standing there with them, or the governor of Plateau State, or a representative of the Middle Belt Forum. When it is convenient, they divide the country into 2, north and south. When it's convenient, they say, oh, there are 3 Nigerias. There is the north, there is the Middle Belt, and the south-south. This kind of divisive politics is not helping this country. The president that will emerge in 2023 must be a Nigerian president. That's our position. It is very dangerous to ethnicize and regionalize this. If we can have a president from the southern part of the country, that will be truly a Nigerian president that will represent the south, the Middle Belt, or the north, or whatever, every citizen of this country, equally and faithfully, and do the opposite of what President Buhari appears to have done. That is to cause a problem for our diversity, alienate huge groups of people from the many parts of the country, divide the country. What we need is a unifying president. A president that will treat this country as one constituency, treat everybody alike, run an inclusive government. That's what we're looking for. The kind of politics going on now is going to end up polarizing the country even more. When you begin to draw lines and say, oh, it must come from here, it should come from there, it's our turn, it's our turn. This kind of thing is very dangerous. And then the final point, what happens if there is a northern president in 2023? Democratically elected, freely elected, in an election that is credible, free and fair. What happens to this? Are other sections of Nigeria, particularly the south, going to say, no, we reject this election result because it's from the south? Isn't that very dangerous? The solution is simple. Go through the electoral process, go through the political process, work your way through and convince every Nigerian who has a vote that the candidate who comes from the south should be voted for, not just because he comes from the south, but because he's the best. And we're looking for the best. In 2023, Nigerians must produce leaders, not just the president, governors, legislators, that are very, very different from the current crop of leaders that we have. This current crop of leaders have run this country aground. What we're looking for are leaders who will raise this country, rebuild Nigeria, rebuild the faith of young people in the future of this country, begin the process of political engineering that brings the Southwest and the Southeast and the South-South together. That's what we're looking for. Not a regional leader, not an ethnic leader. And the North is not making this case now because...
I'd like to come here, Dr. Baba Ahmed. It's so easy to make this case for idealism. Very easy. And we forget that every nation has its historical antecedents. When we make this case for idealism now, we forget that Nigeria has a tribal history that is always across the lines, albeit through what Lord Lugard did in 1914, albeit was after the elections in 59, whatever the case may be. My question to you is, in the spirit of positing scenarios, if you're saying this now, what would have happened if Goodluck Jonathan was re-elected in 2015 elections? Will the North have felt this way, or will they have felt cheated? What would have happened? Because it's so easy to posit these scenarios. And we forget that in 2019, a lot of people from the South here still said, oh, it was that quota for the North they're still on. And that's why you hardly had anybody, you know, coming from the South saying, I want to vie for this position. Because it's so easy now to say, we want a Nigerian president from any part of the country that can unite the country. That's idealism. What's on ground now is that we have a rotational structure that the APC came in with. And that has been done even from the PDP and other political parties in this country. That's your question. Secondly, from Yakubu Pam, sir, good to see you. I'd like to ask, why is it that the middle belt have not pushed for the big prize? When we go back historically to the time of Taka, it's always been an alliance with the Action Group or, you know, NPC and the likes, or NEPO. So it's always in the middle. Is it that the middle belt cannot muster its own, you know, power and grow across the region and say, I want to push for presidency? Dr. Baba Ahmed, I'll take you first, and Mr. Yakubu Pam, I'll take you afterwards. But it's a pleasure meeting all of you again, and good morning this morning.
Well, let me just say, don't ever play down the power of idealism. Idealism is a very important virtue in politics. You are making a case for entrenching tribalism and making the case that we should continue. Now, because Nigeria has been run on tribal basis, you are making the case that we should continue to run it. That's wrong. Then you ask a question, what would have happened if Jonathan didn't win, if Jonathan had won the 2015 election? That's not on the card at all. He didn't win the election, he conceded the election, and we moved on. Then you mentioned the fact that in 2018-2019, the two Northerners ran against each other. Yeah, okay, PDP and APC fielded two Northerners, but many other parties fielded non-Northerners in that election. PDP felt if APC was fielding President Buhari, the best chance of beating Buhari is to field a Northerner, and they fielded Atiku. As it turned out, Buhari won. This was the decision of parties, not the decision of voters. Buhari won because he had more votes than Atiku. And this is the point I'm making. Allow the voter to choose who he wants. We are not against a southern presidency. What we're against is caging a whole part of the country and saying whatever you want, you can't have, because some politicians sat down in a room and decided that power should move there. And what about the quality of the people? What about the fear that you are going to end up producing another ethnic president, or a president that will come to power believing that one section of the country? The unfortunate comment that President Buhari, you hear about it, sitting in the villa and saying the South gave him only 5% of their votes. That kind of statement resonates with people, you know. They don't forget this kind of thing. And so the point I'm making is, don't make assumptions that simply confirm because it is convenient now to make a case. We need to move on. The country needs to move on. We can't produce a Nigerian president that doesn't have an ethnic or regional stamp. And it doesn't matter where he comes from. That's our position. we must find that. We must move beyond this tendency to say, oh, he must be he must be from the southwest, he must be from the southeast, he must be from the middle belt. We need a Nigerian president, and we can find a Nigerian president. We're not just making this argument because we don't want this thing to go to the south. The North has paid a huge price for a northern president that millions of Nigerian voters, northern voters voted for, because maybe they thought he comes from the North. But President Buhari was voted into power by Nigerians because they thought he could actually fix this country after Jonathan, not just because he was the northerner. And in 2019, they didn't vote for him because he was a northerner. They felt he made the case for a second term, and they gave him that chance. So we should not reduce this thing to the fact that we have a terrible history of playing tribal politics, and we must continue. Your position is not good for this country. It would not help us to get out of the situation in which we are.
Yakubu Pam, your answer to the question, sir.
Yes. Before I answer the question, let me start by saying that the position of the southern governors, yes, words like must was used. And if you look at the democratic history of Nigeria, they may not be the first culprit to use such words when in 1999 or 98, when this dispensation started. At that time, the North insisted they needed to have the president. And I remember very well the late Alhaji Abubakar contested. And when they went to Jos for the primaries of PDP then, even though the thinking was, okay, because of the June 12th, 1993, let power shift. But there was, from a bloc in the North, insistence. And again, in 2015, the North also insisted. If you look at comments from different segments of the North, some use those words, must, the power must come to the North. So yes, some of those words is not good for democratic setting and is not good for our system, but the structure of Nigeria promotes this kind of assertions because people make demands. Since under a fair deal, they may not get what they want, they go extra mile, and that's why words like we must, they must are used, which is unfortunate. But then, as I said, the southern governors might not be the first culprit. Now, the issue of the Middle Belt having the presidency, the Middle Belt has the capacity, both in human and material, to galvanize and aspire and get the presidency. But then, because of the tripod stand of Nigeria, the Middle Belt, if you look at during the colonial era, the Sir Willing's commission report, then that report was to allay the fears of the minorities. And at that time, if you look at the Midwest, the Midwest was created. And because of the colonialists were in tandem with the North. That would call it, let me not use the word conspiracy, but they were in tandem. That caused the issue of the Middle Belt region not being created at that time, because the Middle Belt region was more in number, in population, it was more prepared, it had all the resources and all the things that a region required to be created out of the North. But because of the colonialists being in tandem with the North, and the North was not willing to to allow a sizable chunk of its part to have its own region, that couldn't have the light of the day. But then the Midwest was created. The Midwest, why was the Midwest created? The Midwest, from the hind sides, the Midwest was created in order to reduce the opposition stand of the Western region then. So the middle belt, by the time power shifts to the south in 2023, God's willing, after, when it comes, by the time it will be coming back to the north, the middle belt would have been ever ready, that is in the two planks arrangement, it will be ever ready to aspire. And I believe my elder brother here, Dr. Hakeem Ahmed, they will support that cause, and all the northerners. That is, if we actually have been together as one north that has been, that has the toga that has been there and the talk. So the middle belt, we should be rest assured that the middle belt, they are a type of people that are not, they don't go about selling or making all kinds of statements, but on the ground, if you come to our communities, you will see the level of sensitization and the level of commitment of our people to, one, the Nigerian cause, and then two, the middle belt cause as a region, and also to ensure that as a Nigerian, whatever is due to you, you get it without necessarily somebody from somewhere making it to work for you.
That is Mr. Yakubu Pam Gam, we'll need to take a short break, and then when we return, the conversation will continue. Please stay with us, Mr. Gam and Dr. Ahmed. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the morning show here on the Arise News channel. Our guests, we still have two of them, Dr. Hakeem Ahmed of the Northern Elders Forum and Chairman of the Middle Belt Forum Abuja chapter, Yakubu Pam Gam. Mr. Gam, before we went on that break, you were trying to conclude your thoughts. If you may do so quickly so that I can ask the next question.
Now, I was trying to land on the point that the issue of this our structure, where the middle belt is working assiduously to ensure that this country remains together, this country moves on. The interest of the middle belt, yes, for people are looking at it as if the middle belt is not, doesn't have the strength. No, the middle belt has the strength, but the middle belt has a large heart to accommodate a lot of things, to ensure that things work well, and to ensure that every segment of this country feel belonged. And that is why you see the middle belt as if it's calm and not working for the issue of the presidency. But then I can assure you the middle belt has that on the cards, and the middle belt, after the 2023, by the time the power will come to the north, I want you to let it be on record that the middle belt will aspire, and at that time, other Nigerians, we will be looking on to other Nigerians to give us all the necessary support, so that as a brother who has really kept faith with this nation, so the presidency, let it move seamlessly, so that there will be no segment of this country that will feel shortchanged. Just as I said earlier, that if you look at agitations and demands, they are not new into the polity. Right from the colonial era, agitations were there, demands were there. So the only thing is that the modus operandi might differ. So let us come to terms with it. Let us see how we can make do with what we have in the present scenario, and see how a president will come from the south that will have Nigeria at heart. Yes, he has to come from the south. Let him have Nigeria at heart. Just like the president from the north, let him have Nigeria at heart. So all we are working towards is to see that this country moves forward, so that the issue of these demands continuously, because we have, there is injustice, unfairness, and this continue to breed this thing. And that brings to the question of structure. this country, the structure of this country has to be retuned so that everybody will feel he is part of this country. The structure is lopsided. The structure is favoring a section that you find out that others are feeling as if they are alienated in this country. And we have to look at the feelings of others. Let's sit down and look and discuss. And the middle belt position is a position whereby this country should continue with the presidential system, where we should have more states. Let's have more states in this country. Look at the crisis that is coming up in Kaduna State. If the state is divided, though we thank God that now they have agreed, both the north and the south of Kaduna State, they've agreed to create a new state in this constitutional arrangement. So we need even a place like Abuja, FCT. Why would FCT not be a state? FCT should be a state because there are original inhabitants here where they have been made stateless. And then all kinds of things happen, and then you want these people to continue to remain, to be happy with the system? No.
Mr. Gam, point well made. You know, we're running out of time, and I would like to bring back Dr. Ahmed back into the conversation. Dr. Ahmed, first a comment, and then a question. The comment is as follows. I don't think you answered the last two questions posed to you. When Tuno asked you about Southern governors saying should, that Northern Elders Forum in 2015 said must. Each time the North wants to take back power, he says must, as he did in 2011, as the Northern leaders also did in 2015. Professor Ango Abdullah's statement was in 1998. She was talking specifically about what happened in 2015.
Yes.
Now, then the other question about idealism. Yes, nobody disagrees with idealism. There are persons who are saying, yes, merit is important, competence is important, but, you know, even federal character should go so that the best and the brightest can lead Nigeria. But the question they pose is that, yes, if the North has had it, the Southwest has had it, the South-South, you mentioned two parts of the country that have been excluded. Okay, why doesn't it go round first? North Central, Southeast, you know, Middle Belt, and then when it has gone round and there is a sense of fairness and equity, we can now come back and say, okay, let us start on a clean plate about idealism. Otherwise, others will feel excluded. But my question now, that was just a comment. Let me read this statement out to you. The Fulani question must have answers beyond being chased around and being associated with President Muhammadu Buhari and jihadists. Does that sound familiar to you? Because I took that directly from your Facebook page, your comment on the Fulani question. How do you draw the line between the Fulani question and the efforts of the present administration?
I don't know what the Fulani question is. Yes, you stumbled across a comment I made on Facebook. I made that comment in the context of all other problems. And when I said a lot of these issues, irredentism, secessionists, the Fulani questions, cannot be resolved by the present leadership. They need to be resolved. They will be resolved by, they should be resolved by a strong, decisive, and inclusive leadership that will emerge in 2023 that will not have the stigma or the identity of an ethnic group. And this is very, very important. That's the whole point of this discussion. Don't elect a president because he comes from a particular region or a particular ethnic group. When you do that, you give a presidency a stamp of ethnicity of a section of the country. And it's going to be very, very difficult for the rest of Nigerians to feel that he is their president. That's important. Now, the real issue here is there are fundamental issues behind this argument. When we make the case in the Northern Elders Forum for restructuring, one of the key things we point out is the huge amount of power that the presidency holds. A lot of this argument is about we want the presidency. We want the presidency. We have made the case of revisiting the powers of the president. How much power should a president have in this country? Shouldn't we look at ways in which we reduce this unhealthy attraction to the presidency in such a way that everybody just wants to be the president? Why does everybody want to be the president? Because they think if they are on, becomes president, everything will be fine for them. Now, we in the North know. We've had a president for the last 6 years. We have never been worse than we've been. Our security is worse, our economy is worse, everything in the North is worse. Not just in all parts of the North, including the North, that is the Middle Belt. Everybody is paying a price for this. We don't want, if other Nigerians don't understand what this means, we in the North understand that you should not ethnicize or regionalize a president. If they want to do this, then unfortunately we have the votes to decide that this is not the way to go. Now, the best way to resolve this argument is to allow a credible electoral process, a system that allows parties to field who they want. Some parties can field a North Central person, and other parties can field a Southerner, other parties can field a Northerner. Allow the electoral process to decide who becomes president. When he becomes president, hopefully, we would have a good president, a visionary president, a firm president that will recognize the fact that he has one constituency, Nigeria, and run this country and reconstruct Nigeria. It's vital that we have a president who is recognized by all Nigerians, who Nigerians feel comfortable with, and who would open his doors and allow all sections of Nigeria to be part of that administration, and then begin the process of rebuilding this country. This is vital. We're not making a case for the North, we're making a case for Nigeria. This is the point, this is the whole point everybody appears to be missing.
Dr. Baba Ahmed, I get the point entirely. You've shared that perspective of the dangers of relying on a shared ethnic nationality as your president and how that can lead to disappointment before on this show, and we all found it instructive. However, in order to win the presidency, a presidential candidate must achieve what we call geographical spread. You have to have 25% of the votes in 2/3 of the country, because Nigerians do deserve a president that's popular across board, as we found in the Awolowo and Shagari case. But now my question is for you, Mr. Pam Gam. It's unfortunate in our recent history that it's taken a seismic event such as the killing of MKO Abiola, or a tragic act of God, such as the passing of former President Umaru Yar'Adua, to bring the presidency to the South. What do you think it's going to take to achieve that North Central presidency that you were talking about?
Thank you. The Middle Belt is larger than the North Central. North Central, the Middle Belt, the people, in a simple definition of the Middle Belt, they are people that are coming from this part of the country, that have their mother tongues other than the Hausa Fulani. And they have common values, common challenges, and so on. So, though politically you have some aligning with different parts of the country, though some going with the North and so on and so forth, but the interest of the Middle Belt is to see where everybody, especially as a Nigerian or coming from the Middle Belt, participating and ensuring that the country and the environment he finds himself is well taken care of. Now, the issue of presidency from the Middle Belt, let me prefer to use that word. The issue of the presidency, time will not permit us here to say this, and that. But preparations are there on ground, and there are some certain things that you will not come on air here to say, these are your plans, and so on and so forth. When it matures, when the time comes, you will begin to see it being unfolded. And just as the southern governors, before they could come on air, they had done all the nitty-gritties within the southern zone. So when it comes to our own time, the right thing will be done. And you should be rest assured that the Middle Belt, if you look at the history of Nigeria, the Middle Belt has the material resources, the human resources to lead this country and to lead it well. for a zone, a region that has kept this country together. The region believes in Nigeria, and the region has produced fine gentlemen, both in the civil service, in the armed forces, and in the diplomatic corps, and in the business setting. So,
okay, Mr. Yakubu Pam, thank you so much. Really appreciate you. I'm sure I can quote safely the words of Elliot Trudeau that says, "Just watch me." When it comes to the middle belt presidential ambition, we'll just watch the middle belt and see what happens after 2023, like you said. We'll hang it there this morning.